Welcome back. Today we're going to get out of our sketching world and we're going to do our first CAD drawing. CAD is Computer Aided Design. The software we're going to be using today, which can be found on your remote login for the school computers, is going to be Autodesk Inventor. And it's going to look like a yellow square icon with an eye in it. Go ahead and open that up. I've moved all of my other icons away from the desktop for now, so it's easier to find that one. And once you double click it, you just got to wait. This is a fairly large program, so have some patience and let it do its thing. Software should look similar to this when it opens up. Maybe you've got some other files or other windows, but essentially this is where you're trying to get to. Autodesk Inventor can draw various things. We can draw individual parts, we can draw dimension drawings, we can do assemblies, we can do all kinds of different things with what we're doing. So here's the individual part files, here's the assembly files, which looks like multiple part files assembled together in the icon. Here's the drawing, which is what we've been doing all this time in sketching, is title block drawings with views. And then we can also do kind of video files of those parts. So for today's, we're just going to do a single part. We're just going to click on that. And we're going to go into a single IPT, or individual part file. Now that we're in, we have a whole bunch of tools at the top. We're no longer just limited to a ruler and a protractor and a compass anymore. We've got all kinds of tools up here. So this is going to be our toolbar. We got both 3D tools and 2D tools under sketching, which we'll be getting into. On the left side is our model window. I like to call it our history browser. We're going to be able to, as we draw, go back and change things about our part as we go. And then here's our drawing area. You might have, at some point, multiple parts open at a time. So down here you might see some of that as you go. So to get started, we're always starting, for the most part, with a 2D sketch. So we're going to go, and you'll notice that this is a split icon. If we click the top half, we're getting what it says, Start 2D Sketch. If we click the bottom half, we can choose some options. And they have multiple split icons like this one right here and this one right here throughout this program. But all we care about right now is Start 2D Sketch. It comes and says, where do you want to start your sketch? Within the three-dimensional spatial world, which is infinity and beyond, how do you want to start drawing? Well, CAD, Computer Aided Design, is using the same geometric planes that you would see in geometry class. And that's going to be your XY plane, your YZ, and your XZ plane. So your XY is typically referred to as your top view. So we'll start with the XY. It doesn't matter which one you choose, honestly, to start with for what we're doing. So if you click the wrong one, that's okay, but I traditionally start in the XY plane. Once we've done that, it automatically goes to our sketching tools instead of our 3D modeling tools. So here, quite simply, we could just draw something and we have a circle. We could just draw something, we have a square. We could just draw some lines here by clicking as we go. And, you know, it's nice to be able to have tools like that, but we want to be able to give them sizes.
Hi, what's up?
So let's go ahead and draw a 2-inch by 2-inch square. So we've drawn a rectangle, and actually I'm going to back up a moment because I can give that sizes as I draw it. If I come in here and I do tab, 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 tab between them, I can go 2, tab 2, enter, and I've just drawn a 2-inch by 2-inch square, and it gives it the dimensions. Otherwise, we can come in here and just place the rectangle first and give it dimensions. So we're going to click on the dimension tool, and there's a couple of different ways we can dimension an object. We're going to click this line, click, let go, come up and place that dimension, and we can tell it 2 inches. That's one way, clicking a line. Another one is clicking two lines. I want to go from here to here. Now I got a dimension between those lines. Place it. Tell it how big. 2. Another way that I can do a dimension is point to point.
Okay.
So instead of line, I'm going to hover at the point, place it, and give it a dimension. So there's a couple of different ways that you can draw stuff. Now, if you messed up and you want to change a dimension, all you have to do is click on it. 2, 2. You'll notice as we're drawing, in our history browser, we have sketch 1 highlighted. This happens to be our first sketch.
Okay.
Finish. We go now to 3D tools, and sketch 1 is no longer highlighted.
Yep.
So we can do something with this sketch now. Let's go ahead and extrude it and make it a cube. So we're going to click extrude.
Yep. Got it.
It automatically grabs the profile because it's our first sketch and it's the only thing there.
All right.
We can tell it which direction.
We're
And we
probably
can
better than the East
tell it
Coast,
how far.
2.
2.
In Wisconsin, it's a little
Okay.
quieter and stuff,
So there is a 2 by 2 by 2 cube. You'll notice on the left that we lost sketch 1. It has now been consumed by extrusion 1. It's still there. If you hit the plus sign, we can still edit it if we want to by changing something, but extrusion 1 is now in control. Alright, so one of the most common things within your CAD drawings is going back and changing things about it as you draw. So we're going to make this, instead of a 2 by 2 by 2, we're going to make it 1 by 2 by 3. So let's go to extrusion 1, sketch 1, we're going to change one dimension to 1. So 1 by 2, you'll see that it updates, and then if we double click extrusion 1, we can go by 3. So there's 1 by 2 by 3. Whoops. Let's make it 3 by 4 by 3.
Yeah, people are probably still nervous.
So let's go back to sketch 1.
You considered a hot zone?
3
Yeah, that's what I thought.
by 4. Finish.
Oh, yeah.
And edit extrusion 1 by 3.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 3 by 4 by 3. So by simply just clicking on those different sketches or features, right click, you'll see edit sketch, edit feature on that object. We can go back and change stuff about it. So let's go back to
You still have to get product.
2 by 2 to our original sizes, but we're going to make it a 1/2 inch thick. Okay. At some point you probably want to save this part. So to save is pretty simple. File, save as, and you're going to tell it where you want to go ahead and save that part. So we're going to go into wherever you're keeping stuff. I've got a classes folder for myself. Intro to CAD.
Oh, got you. Yeah, yeah.
And we're going to call this 3D-01 support. I want it all caps. And I've already got a support there, so I'm just going to give it a new, because I happen to have 2 there from a previous class or whatever, I don't know. Okay, we've got that part saved. Well, most often there's more than just one feature to a CAD file. Maybe there's a hole in it, or another block sticking out, or who knows, a circle on it. So we got to do more sketches on here. So we're going to put a hole in this side. So sketch on this surface. So notice when we go to sketch now, it doesn't open up those 3 yellow squares. Now we get to choose where do we want to sketch on this object, which surface. I'm going to choose this main front surface. And we get our sketch tools back. So I'm going to go with a circle somewhere in here. I'm going to give it a size, maybe 0.75. Now it gets a little bit tricky placing a circle on a part. How do I dimension that? Well, if I want to dimension it centered this way, it's 2 inches, then it's going to be 1 inch in the middle. So I'm going to click on an edge. Come over here, click on the circle, and now I'm placing a dimension between the edge and the circle, 1 inch. I can do that top down again, edge, circle, 1 inch. And now I got that circle centered in that space. Okay, I'm going to go back to my modeling tools and I'm going to extrude, and I could add or I could cut a hole. There's a couple of different ways that I can do stuff here. So let's go ahead and cut a hole all the way through. So we're going to go 1 inch, or I can tell it through all, right here. And tell it what direction. Well, obviously to cut, I got to go through the part. And then here is cut or join, which would be add type of options. And okay. And now I have Extrusion 2 on the left in the history browser is consumed Sketch 2, which was my circle, and made it a hole. Whoops, I wanted the hole only to be 1/4 inch diameter. Well, come over here, double click on the sketch where we drew the hole, and 0.25. Change the dimension, and voila. Whoops, I wanted the hole to be 1.5 inch diameter and only go halfway through the part. Sketch 2 again, click on the dimension, 1.5, 1.5 inch diameter, finish. Halfway through the part, so extrusion 2, instead of through all, I'm going to type in 0.25 because I believe we made this a 1/2 inch thick. And there's halfway through the part. So we can keep changing that all day long if we want to. Let's say we want to see, is this really halfway through the part? Well, let's do kind of an advanced tip real quick. Let's go to View at the top and change our visual style from shaded with edges to wireframe with hidden lines. And over here on this little box, we're going to click on the right side view, and you can see that that circle pocket goes halfway through the part with the hidden lines. I'm going to go back to an isometric view by clicking on a corner of the box, and it automatically defaults to an isometric view. I can go back to shaded with hidden edges. Shaded with hidden. Let's go shaded with just edges. And we can see that object. So we haven't really talked about how to rotate or manipulate the part in the view space very well. So let's spend some time to do that. We got this cube up here, which if we click on the different surfaces, we can see those views. If we click on the little arrows, it rotates 90 degrees every time I click one of those. Whichever one I click, it's rotating 90 degrees. Well, let's say I want to spin it, so I can click this here and spin it around, and this is very control oriented for getting that part to be where I want it. Well, if I just want to move it around, I can also hover over here on what I like to call the orbit, the nucleus, which looks like from science class. It's called free orbit. When I click on that, I get this funky little icon and circle going on that allows me to rotate this in any direction. So if I just grab the middle, I can just rotate anywhere here. It's kind of nice, but it also can be hard to control. Well, if I come up here and I hover on just one of these lines, now I'm only rotating in one direction. And I can choose which direction I want. Or I can rotate around if I grab the circle, only in around. So if you're really trying to get it to a specific location, that can help you get into a spot. So that's the orbit tool. You can also zoom in and zoom out with your mouse on the center scroll wheel. If you just scroll in or scroll out on the mouse, that is zooming. And if I click down the center button of the mouse and hold it down, that's panning. I'm holding that down, that center button, and I'm moving the mouse. I'm not actually moving the object. Think of it as if I'm flying in space around the object. Alright, so we have taken some time to learn how to open up Autodesk Inventor, learn how to start a simple part file to get into it. We looked at how you're going to do a start 2D sketch on a surface, and you're going to be drawing some basic shapes. We drew a square. We were able to change the dimensions of that square both in the sketch as well as going back into the sketch to change something that we didn't like. We looked at how to extrude that object by grabbing it and making it bigger or changing the direction or dimensions. And we also looked at how to make a secondary sketch on that part by making a circle and sending it in. Hopefully this video was helpful for you to get a little basic understanding of Autodesk Inventor. The next video is going to be looking at how to draw the support in Autodesk Inventor.